If there's one thing I can give Donald Trump credit for, is exposing the hypocrisy and the straight-up lies of the Republican Party. They claim to be many things that most of us in America should aspire to. But when looking through the lens of who they support, which is Donald Trump, it's hypocrisy in the highest order. They say they're Christians, yet some of them voted for 3 straight elections for a multiple adulterer, the living embodiment of the 7 deadly sins. Now, I'm not claiming to be sinless. I don't think anyone in this world can claim to be sinless. But a man who flaunts his sins in front of the American people on a daily basis, whether it's a Truth Social post or live and in living color on television, I ask what your Christian values are. Because Donald Trump has shown no Christian values and has a 0 record of actually attending church, unless that church happens to have a network television camera. They can see himself on the 6 o'clock news. You say you're for small government, but you back a man who literally wants to run our constitutional republic like a dictatorship, effectively stripping Congress of any power, demanding a penalty of being taken off the air and losing money from the government, that media correspondents and channels report only news that's actually positive towards him. He has abused his power more than anyone in the presidency. There's been no politician for bigger control of the government over American lives than he is. He's used his power to threaten private citizens, universities, state and local governments, corporations, sports teams, judges, and even members of the Congress and Senate if they don't do what he wants. His administration literally took control of production over a chunk of a private company called Intel because they signed the deal under President Biden's administration to build factories in Ohio that could result in thousands of jobs being created. You want to talk about freedom of speech, but you vote for the perfect example of an easily triggered, whiny little bitch of a snowflake who wants anyone and everything canceled who doesn't say or do what he wants than Donald Trump. The perfect example is Jimmy Kimmel. When he instituted a lie that Jimmy Kimmel insulted the death of Charlie Kirk, which he did not. But you used that lie in order to try to get him fired off ABC, which failed, by the way. Which shows how weak he really is. You want to say that he's concerned about human trafficking. But the fact is that Donald Trump has clear ties to the most infamous child predator in American history. And yes, we are talking about Jeffrey Epstein, who is actively, not only in the last 11 months of his presidency, but perhaps even longer than that, done everything he can to cover up those ties. And practically every day, almost on a daily basis, we are seeing more and more evidence proving that, well, at the very, 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 very least, Trump knew what Epstein was doing at that island. And very, very worse in that scenario, didn't do a damn thing to stop it. Didn't have a problem with it. When your party has made going after child traffickers into a partisan issue, you lose whatever right you have to say you care about protecting children. And this is what gets me the most. You Republicans claim to be the party of fiscal responsibility. Now, to Trump's credit, he's not the first Republican to claim that and then add trillions to the national debt. That being said, he is going to go down in history as the president who added more to our national debt than anyone else. We know this for a fact. Because not long ago, he signed a tax bill that will add trillions more to it. You want to say that you're the party of family values. Nothing says family values by voting for a president who has cheated on all of his wives, including his current one now, with a porn star, not too long after she gives birth to their son, who's going to end up screwed up the rest of his life just because of him, who spends most of his weekends not with his family or his grandchildren, like most people who aren't locked in the old age home usually do with their families, but going golfing and stroking his own ego about how a great man he is while this country burns. Now, here's one point that you really need to pay real attention to. You claim to be all for the United States Constitution. You lost any claim of that when you back a president who literally thinks he can do whatever he wants because he happens to be president, who has said multiple times that he wants to run for a third term as the President of the United States, which is completely unconstitutional under the 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution, and who has been named by multiple people, from military officers to former congressmen and judges, as the biggest threat to our democracy we have ever seen, by refusing to recognize the results of an election that he lost. There has been no more an unconstitutional president in this nation's history. You want to talk about personal accountability? Trump has never, ever taken responsibility for anything negative in his life. Forget the 2 times he was elected president. When has he ever taken responsibility? We press him on a traditional issue of, did you say this? Did you say that? If it's negative, he'll say, I didn't mean it that way, or I didn't say it, or it's AI. Sure, he'll take the credit for anything positive, but he will blame everyone and everything but himself about anything negative. I've never seen a human in my life who lives in a state of victimhood. And this idea of, oh, they're out to get me, more than Donald Trump. You want to talk about capitalism and free trade when a man like Trump, who assigns tariffs as if he were giving candy on Halloween. He'll threaten corporations and free markets hoping to abuse his power to force those businesses to do whatever he wants. You want to talk about law and order and the respect you have for it when you back up a criminal like Donald Trump? You mean the folks backing him who pardoned over 1,600 terrorists who attacked the United States Capitol and has been literally pardoning legitimate felons because they effectively bribed him into doing so. The same president who allowed the DOJ, Pam Bundy, I'm talking about your bitch ass, to transfer a sexual predator to a minimum security prison. The same president who is more than willing to bash and attack every judge or law enforcement agency that tries to hold him or any of his business accountable for crimes against this country. You don't respect law and order when you back a criminal. I can give you more examples that Trump has proven that the entire platform of the Republican Party is lies. That's why you are completely taken over by such a con artist. Because that's what you have been for the last half century, going all the way back to the civil rights laws. Every time you want to claim that the Democrats are the party of the KKK, you never cared about this country or its people. They were just easy marks, just as you are for Donald Trump. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.